This is a meeting of the, oops, a little too strong. This is a meeting of the Consolidated Commission on Utilities. This is our regular monthly meeting. For the record, those present are myself, Commissioner Sanchez, and Commissioner Martinez. And before we get started, I want to point out some things. Basically, we have a vacancy for vice chairman, and that will be filled by the commission on a vote, and we'll do that at our next meeting. However, for tonight's purposes, we also have our secretary, Commissioner Mchalko, who's off island, and that creates a temporary vacancy. And according to section 2.3.2.2, in the absence of the secretary, then the chairperson of the Rules Committee becomes the secretary. And in this case, that also happens to be Commissioner Mchalko. So then it becomes the acting chairperson on Rules, who is the other member of the Rules Committee. That would be Commissioner Sanchez. So Commissioner Sanchez is the acting secretary for our meeting for tonight, for our purpose. Okay?
Do I get a raise?
Yeah. Can somebody pick his chair up? Let's make him higher. Okay. First order of business is approval of minutes, and I think it's the minutes of May 24th, right? Yeah. Okay. May 24th. Is there a motion to approve? Motion to approve? Second. Any further discussions? None?
No, sir.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries with 3 affirmative votes. Next order of business is public comment. Do we have anybody? Nope. Okay. The GWA group is up first. General Manager Miguel Perdalian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no updates to the General Manager's report.
Okay.
For the financials, I don't know if the CFO wanted to...
We don't have any updates, right?
I just wanted to mention that I did circulate the press release from Fitch.
Sure.
So
okay, we saw that.
we maintain our ratings, outlook stable.
They believe in us. We have to continue to work hard. We have to continue to produce and also work with
And get rate relief.
And get rate relief. Work with our regulators. We have to work with our regulators, all our regulators.
Yes.
Federal and local. Okay. First resolution?
Moving on, thank you, Mr. Chair. Moving on to the first resolution, which is number 22, FY 2022. And this is relative to additional funding for our construction project at the Tumon number 2 Hyundai and Chout number 2 reservoirs. As discussed during the work session, we do have some additional work that needs to be done in order to get these reservoirs into proper service, including some off-site piping related to the proper function of those reservoirs. There are 4 additional items that we have requested the contractor to undertake, including relocating the San Vitoris Road pressure reducing valves to the center lane, installing at the Tumon number 2 site, complying with some of the conditions of the Chamorro Land Trust when they allowed us to use their property for the construction of that tank. We need to put in some fencing and do some drainage improvements on the adjacent lot, which we did use as a temporary construction staging area. We do, for the Agani Heights and Chout reservoirs, do need to do some work on the chlorine injection systems. And then also for those 2 reservoir sites to include equipment so that we can, in the future, install SCADA systems to connect to our control center here at Fadian. So this additional work is necessary, and our estimate from the contractor to do all 4 items of work totals about $554,000. We are seeking an additional contingency amount in 20% of $110,000 for a total requested additional funding of about $665,000. We anticipate that all the work will be completed by December of this year, and we have funding available from 2 different CIP line items, one for the reservoirs and one for SCADA, in order to cover the work.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So move.
So moved. Is there a second?
Okay. And just a quick question. We're awful close on completing the reservoir, the tank upgrades that were in the original consent decree, correct? This is part of...
This is part of that,
okay.
yes.
And how many more are left Or is this the final?
No, this is
I don't know
not
if that's the
final.
right question, but, you know, how are we doing on the completing everything?
We
quarter.
still have some additional reservoirs to construct. We have Ugam, we have the airport reservoirs and PD, and then we have several reservoirs which still need to be repaired.
Okay.
So we are tracking for a June, our deadline, our court order deadline extended is June of 2023.
Okay, so we're a year away.
We're working as hard as we can to make sure everything gets done by that date, but as you know, we have had some additional delays due to the global supply chain and other issues, including permitting. So, and land acquisition for the PD tank is still on hold. It's outside of our control because it's federal property that's involved. So there's several factors, but the team is working as fast as we can to make sure we meet those deadlines.
And US EPA is fine with the scheduling and expects us to just complete, with the delays that occurred. I mean, we're a year away from, I mean, to me, it was always a very big piece of the consent decree, the first one.
Yeah.
And it was the one we knew would take the longest. But it, you know, really speaks to protecting our water as we store it before we distribute it. And it's good to see these projects moving along. And I knew you were close to getting them done. I was just curious for the public just to let them know how close we are. We're about a year away from finishing all of them. This is the next big piece of what's been a big puzzle.
Will be the final piece.
The final
for that
pieces,
big
right?
puzzle, yes.
Right, and then in a year we'll be able to complete all those upgrades that you're working on. So good. Thank you, Miguel. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion is approved with 3 affirmative votes. Next, Miguel.
Next is Resolution 23 FY 2022, and this is relative to authorizing management to execute a memoranda of agreement for the One Guam Water Resource Information Program. The chair may remember that we did a presentation on the One Guam Water Resource Information Program, and I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Jensen from Weary and Todd.
Okay. Our
Who will be
partners
taking-
from the UOG Weary. Very good.
And in the briefing that we prepared, we referenced the 2016 Memorandum of Understanding, the One Guam Memorandum of Understanding with the Department of Defense, which the board authorized me to enter into. And in that update to the 2010 MOU, there were provisions that were included for cooperation between DoD and GWA to enhance monitoring and management of the Northern Guam Lands Aquifer in order to mitigate impacts to potable water resources and to share access to and responsibilities for the maintenance of the NGLA monitoring system assets. As the board is also aware, we received a large amount of federal grant funding to make water and wastewater system improvements, which included an amount for expanding and rehabilitating the Northern Guam Lands Aquifer monitoring system, essentially to improve both GWA and DoD's ability to manage Guam's water resources. Now, those federal grants came with conditions that require the maintenance and sustainment of these monitoring system assets over their anticipated useful life. And as a result, DoD, GWA, WERI, and USGS have been working together to figure out how to do that, and they developed, WERI and USGS took the lead in developing the One Guam Water Resource Information Program to pull in all of the monitoring of water resources that they conduct for both DoD and GWA, and establish this framework for how we can make this work. What we're seeking here is authority to enter into memorandum of agreement, 2 different ones, one between GWA and the Navy, which splits the responsibilities and establishes our commitment to maintain these monitoring system assets. So everything inside the fence would be maintained by DOD, and everything outside the fence in terms of the monitoring system assets will be maintained by GWA. It also envisions a second MOA to be entered into between WERI and USGS and GWA, separate for our share of the cost. So DOD will have its own MOA to cover its share of the costs, and GWA will enter into an agreement with WERI and USGS for our share of the costs for the continuing data collection and maintenance of the water resource information program. This MOA covers all of the monitoring system assets island-wide, including rain gauges and stream gauges in the south, as well as the monitoring wells for the Northern Guam Lens Aquifer. The amount that we would have to put in is dependent on the annual budgets that will be developed each year by WERI and USGS, and also by the amount of funding that the legislature appropriates for the programs that are under WERI's mandate. Any shortfall is intended to be covered by the MOA between GWA and WERI and USGS. And I explained that in detail at our presentation.
Do you have a historic dollar figure that we've been
We have
contributing?
projected dollar figures for, because the system is expanding, we're adding 7 new wells. We rehabilitated 13 wells as part of this project jointly with DOD funding. And so the annual cost varies with each year, because every 5 years they do a lot more of a specific type of monitoring. But in general, we're looking at upwards of 1.5 million to be split about 60-40, I believe, between GWA or Guam and DOD.
Who's the 60?
We're the higher amount because that
Yeah,
allocation
more
is
wells.
based on the permitted extraction rate. So we draw more water from the aquifer than they do.
It's about $1 million. 60% of 1.5 to about 100,000, right? Okay, okay, very good. Well worth it. Well worth it. The aquifer is the most special resource we have. Although the ocean might argue, but I can't drink the ocean. We can drink the aquifer.
Oh, we can fish the ocean.
But we can fish the, true that.
I want to make sure I remember this correctly. This is to get information on all our water resources throughout the whole island.
That's correct.
Including surface water.
That's
It
correct.
includes FEMA also.
Right, and that's the part that DOD pays for.
Pays for it.
Yes.
Okay, so I think that's very interesting because, this is where we've actually come up. This is where we've actually come up and now get a full picture of the water resources of the island as a whole for the whole community. So this is very crucial, and I'm glad we've made this move, and I congratulate WERI for working with us and thank them for working with us. And that you want a whole picture. Before, we never knew what the military was doing. They didn't know what we were doing, but now we need to know what everybody's doing for the protection of all our water resources, the aquifer and all surface water also. Okay. Do we have a motion on this yet?
No.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any further questions?
Just
No?
one.
Sure, go ahead.
So it's a 3-year MOA?
No, the MOA will be reviewed every 3 years and updated. The program itself is the projections, the projected costs have gone out, I think, 10 or 20 years. So we've got, it's intended to cover, the period moving forward to keep those in operation. But the MOA will be established and then reviewed every 3 years. I don't think there's a termination date on the MOA.
We started in like 2010 or something like
Yeah.
that, when the
Something like
buildup
that.
started to become something.
The 2010 MOU,
Yeah,
right, which was
when this all started,
Yeah.
this collaboration.
updated in 2016.
16,
And
and
then
now we're-
that MOU has a 5-year review period. And in 2021, we did review it, and we decided that there was no need to change anything at that point. So the 2021 passed without an update.
amendments,
But the
right.
2016 MOU is still in effect. When these are executed, and just to be clear, all parties have reviewed and finalized it. Legal counsel has reviewed on the Navy side and has made their comments. We're pending final review from our legal counsel, and then we'll consolidate those changes. So there might be some minor coordination changes on the documents, but the final drafts have been presented here. And then once those are, if the board provides authorization, once they're finalized and coordinated, then we will execute, and that will remain in effect moving forward, but with 3-year reviews.
Subject to 3-year review.
Yeah. Okay. But this authorizes you to actually execute them, right? It doesn't have to come back to us, right?
No, but we will give you
Yeah,
an
anyway.
executed
Yeah.
copy of the final.
Okay, great.
Okay? Okay, ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The resolution is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Miguel. The next issue for decision is GWA Resolution 24-FY 2022. It is also a joint resolution, GPA Resolution FY 2022-24, relative to the creation of the classification specifications for utility customer care series of positions. This resolution seeks to establish 4 new positions for the GPA, GWA customer care divisions. The positions are utility customer care representatives 1, 2, and 3, and a utility customer care supervisor position. These positions will be replacing 2 current positions, a customer service representative and a customer service supervisor position. Both of these positions were established in 1980, and the positions that we are creating more reflect the duties and responsibilities of a modern-day utilities customer care person. The biggest changes in these new positions are the requirements for minimum experience and training. The customer care or the customer service representative experience, the existing position is 1 year of clerical experience and basic math skills, and the supervisor position is the same with 1 additional year of customer service experience. The new positions at the level 1 require a 1 year of customer service experience plus a diploma. The level 2 is a 2-year plus a diploma. The level 3 is 4 years and a diploma. And the supervisor is a 2 years customer service experience and a bachelor's degree. So we're trying to raise the standard of all the employees' minimum skills, knowledge, and abilities and experience and training across the board. This also aligns with our One Utility initiative to try to bring together GPA and GWA customer service representatives so that they can handle both utilities customers. And we are seeking your approval for these 4 additional positions.
Okay. Is there a motion? Motion? Second?
Yeah, quick question.
Sure.
For Chris. When you said a diploma, referring to the
High school diploma.
UCC, the new ones, 2 and 3, those are high school diplomas?
High school
and
diplomas.
the super needs a college
Bachelor's degree, correct.
All right, I can qualify.
Yeah. Okay, any further discussion? This is a good thing, you know. We've been struggling, one of the things we set as a goal, the CCU back when it started, was to make life simpler for our ratepayers. And if a ratepayer comes in and wants to apply for a GPA meter and apply for a GWA water meter, he has to go to 2 separate customer service people. And that, we want to make it so he's one customer service person, gets all his work done, doesn't have to go back and forth, and then he moves on with life. So this is a customer or ratepayer focus initiative. Okay? And that's what that's why we exist, to serve our ratepayer. Okay? Ready for the question? All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries with 3 affirmative votes. And this also covers the GPA resolution. So John, when we get to this part on your agenda, we won't have to have a vote. We already did the vote. Okay? Next, Miguel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next on the agenda is Resolution 25, FY 2022. And this is seeking approval of additional construction management funding for the contract to construct the Santa Rosa, Sanifa, and Santa Rita water reservoirs and system upgrades. This is a court-ordered project, and the construction management services are necessary in order to complete the construction of reservoirs at these 3 sites. The Santa Rosa Reservoir and Booster Pump Station construction is in progress, but has been delayed due to supply chain issues resulting from COVID. The tank is scheduled to be placed in service by the end of August. However, we will need some additional months to complete the booster pump station. The equipment for that and the generator will not arrive until the end of the year. For the Sanifa Reservoir, that also will be placed in service by the end of August. However, there is some existing on-site work, including the control building, that will be completed by the end of the year. And then for the Santa Rita Reservoir, this is one of the sites that I mentioned during the work session. We had some issues with a severe weather saturating the ground and causing some slippage there on the adjacent hillside, and that drastically affected the construction work, required some redesign efforts and some additional earthwork and piling that is still ongoing. It also affected an adjacent right-of-way that involves DPW and some landowners in that area. So the additional work that's required for that is also pushing the construction completion date out to the spring of next year. So the additional funding is required to extend construction management services because of these delays. The estimate and not to exceed amount for the additional CM services is $2.1 million. We are also seeking an additional 10% contingency in the amount of $221,000. So the total requested additional funding is $2.34 million. And as I mentioned, we anticipate completion of all the work for these tanks and their sites by April of 2023. Bond funding, line item PW 0911 for water system reservoir improvements will be used to fund this additional work.
Okay. Is there a motion? So moved.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any further comments? No, we got it. Okay. No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries with 3 affirmative votes. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The last item for us on the agenda is Resolution 26, FY 2022, and this is in regard to services during construction for the construction of the upgrades for Northern District Wastewater Treatment Plant to secondary treatment. As I explained in the work session, we did have limitations on the amount of funding at the time that we executed the design contract, which included services during construction. Since that time, the engineers of record on the project have expended additional effort because of various issues during the construction, including substitution changes, some significant shop drawing review for structural components at the site, and all of this work, additional work, has increased the amount of funding necessary for the completion of the project from the engineer of record. So there is about $360,000 in additional services during construction that are required. And in addition, because we have a autothermal aerobic digestion system for the solids process at Northern District, which is completely different than anything we've had previously, there is some additional training that we are requesting for the operators, and the engineers of record are providing that training along with some of the equipment manufacturers for an additional cost of $40,000. We feel that's a wise investment for our operators at this facility. So the total change to the design contract would be $400,000 after negotiations with the designer. However, there is some money left over in the authorized funding already, so the total amount we're requesting is $317,000 and some change. We anticipate that all of the training will be completed by October of this year.
Okay.
And bond funds under CIP line item MP WWWTP 08 will be used
For the
for this.
$317,000.
Yes.
Okay, good. Is there a motion?
Second.
Second?
Just a
Go
quick
ahead,
question.
Commissioner Sanchez.
There's an event coming up for the Northern Wastewater Treatment Plant in the first week of August. It is coming online. Is that what we're celebrating, or because I know it's
So
well? Can you?
it's substantially complete. We are cutting the ribbon on August 2nd. The secondary treatment process came online in March.
Good.
So we've been operating at secondary treatment with no enhanced chemical treatment since March. The UV disinfection system came on in May. So since May, we have been discharging secondarily treated and disinfected effluent through an installed diffuser, which wasn't there before, at the outfall. So that is improving the receiving water quality and the quality of our effluent to meet EPA permit requirements.
I mean, this is a huge achievement for the utility. I mean, that's our largest plant, handles the most volume. What's its new capacity? Has that also got increased?
It did, and I'm sorry if I don't have the numbers correct. I think we're right now at about, we're approved for 5 MGD, but once the design is, the construction is complete, I think we'll be at about 12 MGD capacity.
And we're able to process, even at 5, we're still able to process the demand, the flow, the load?
Yes.
Okay, and then we have the extra capacity for growth and the I&I and some of the other challenges we face, like on days like today.
Since we've completed the interceptor, and I think that I've mentioned this before in previous management reports, the effect of I&I on the Northern District system is greatly diminished as compared to our other plants. So we have a lot of collection system work to do in other areas, but that one project for the interceptor, which was also funded by DOD, did a lot to improve to reduce our I&I into Northern District, so it's not as affected by rainfall anymore.
What was the total cost, if you're able to calculate that? I mean, to me, we're on the 1 yard line, about to really complete everything, but what ends up being the estimated total cost of the upgrade of the northern plant?
We are not far off of our original construction amount at this point. There are still change orders that the contractor might submit, but the total, the initial construction cost was $122 million. We had one deductive change order. We eliminated a new admin building to save costs, and that brought it down. But then the various issues that have come up have essentially we're kind of where we were when we started. So we're at about $122 million, I believe, for the Northern District plant upgrades.
That's next to John's generators. That's one of the largest CIP projects done by the government of Guam, done by GWA. It's
GWA's largest CIP project.
Yeah. Well, kudos to all of you, and thanks to the federal. I don't want to say thanks for the federal funds, but I guess I could. But the DOD funds, right, which was all set up through much hard work of you and your predecessor in the commission in working with DOD. I remember when they were initially, the Japanese were trying to convince them to build a totally separate wastewater plant just for the Marine base with their money, and we were able to convince DOD that that really wasn't the best solution, and DOD came through, and this is $122 million that we did not have to charge to our ratepayers, and yet we know we're the dominant user of that facility, and most of our customers are north, and that's where their wastewater goes, and so it's it's really a huge achievement to be. We're on the 1 yard line. You're ready to take it in. You're the ribbon cutting, and I'm sure you'll talk about all of this at the ceremony. But this is another huge achievement for our utilities, and particularly GWA. It's been quite a few weeks actually between GWA and GPA where the ratepayer-owned utilities are performing using public-private partnerships when necessary, using federal funding provided where ratepayers don't have to pay for it, and producing assets that really will serve our environment, serve our needs for decades into the future. So this one's a long time coming. I'm particularly proud of GWA and what you've all been able to do in partnering with DOD to make this happen. And it's a huge achievement, and you and your team should be congratulated for finishing the work.
Thank you, sir.
I'd
Great
also like
job.
to add that this is really the benefit of that one Guam approach that we did back in 2010, when we said, look, this is one island, one water system, one wastewater system. In reality, maybe there's a fence somewhere, but irrespective of that fence, it all goes into the same ocean, and we're pulling it out of the ground all together. One side of the fence, the other side. So finally recognizing, again, this one concept. That's where we want to keep moving. So
And-
thank you.
And it's great that, we have another customer, the Department of Defense, they could have built their own. I heard the same comment at GPA where they've signed up for another 10 years, and, some of the naysayers saying, what other choice do they have? But they did have other choices.
other
DOD could have built its own power system, DOD could build its own wastewater system, and yet the confidence that DOD has in GWA and in GPA really needs to be recognized. DOD is not stupid people, and yet they feel it's in their best interest and in the national interest to use GWA and GPA as service providers for power and here for wastewater for their expanding footprint. Anderson's getting bigger. Now we have a new Marine base, and all that wastewater is going to go through a publicly owned system to help defer our costs, not to mention our operating costs, not to mention they paid for the whole CIP to begin with. And it's really, I'm so happy for our ratepayers and happy for you and your team in what the good work that you've been able to do and what John was able to announce as well last week. So again, thank you, and a very, very proud moment, I think, for our ratepayers, the owners of GWA.
And on that note, I just want to add, GWA in 2024 will have completed $1,054 million in projects for the benefit of our ratepayers. That's a significant story. Just as GPA is investing a lot of money, you're over $1 billion. Okay? Thank you. Call for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries with 3 affirmative votes. That's it, right? Lou, that's, you're done?
GWA.
That's it for GWA.
Okay.
Thank you.
John, are your people ready? Do you want 5 minutes to bring your people in?
Yes.
Okay, just a 5-minute recess.
I'll let him know that he's still alive.
Now to deal with GPA matters. So, Presidente, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I have 4 resolutions for your approval tonight. First 2 actually deals with the pipeline storage and the dock facility. So, Resolution 2022-22 is for the extension of the pipeline agreement and the RFO storage lease agreement with TriStar. It's a sole source agreement, and our team negotiated for an agreement up to 3 years, for the next 3 years. The first part of it, the pipeline agreement, is actually at the same price per year for the next 3 years. And that price is the, let me see, I'm trying to find that number. The prevailing 566,350.34 per year. The next agreement is the RFO, residual fuel oil storage tanks. As the Commission is aware, we lease so many storage tanks, especially now during the transition from 3 fuel to 5 fuel down to 1 fuel. No? And the contract agreement, if looking in the documents, we really, for the first year, will be at, actually today, we're at 442,000 barrels that we're leasing. But now we're letting go of some, so by the first year of this agreement, you'll be down to 402,000 barrels. And then by the second year, it'll drop down to 278,000 barrels of storage. And then by the end of this agreement, we will be at ultra-low sulfur diesel, which means we will be releasing most of, if not all, of these tanks at that point, and we'll be only utilizing the 2 GPA-owned storage tanks. So again, this is the path towards the, as noted in the past, in our
IRP
challenge towards getting down to ultra-low sulfur diesel. And so you will see that the annual cost keeps going down in terms of total cost, no? And all of that. So again, the total contract for these 3 years for the pipeline and the storage capacity rental is 8.999383. Make sure I can see those small numbers too well. 393.02. No,
That's
as
for the
noted in the
3-year
resolution. For the 3-year
Yeah,
agreement.
okay. Okay.
So I ask your approval for this agreement. Again, TriStar is the sole provider of this. No?
Okay. Is there a motion?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman,
Move to approve,
Resolution
second?
2022-22.
Second? Okay. Any questions or comments? No? Okay, ready for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion is adopted with 3 aye votes.
The next resolution, Mr. Chair, is FY 2022-23, and this is the dock facility user agreement. So again, the pipeline and storage tank are TriStar, and also TriStar pays the fee through for the dock to the Port Authority of Guam, no? And so the annual expense for the dock agreement is estimated at 1924512 per year, or 5.773536 for the 3-year extension. So again, this agreement is the cost is the same as in the previous. There's a notation here: subject to any automatic adjustment based on changes to the PAG rates, because again, this is so much dollars per barrel transferred across the
There's a
line.
pass-through,
No?
yeah.
So as we reduce our annual consumption of oil, then we will
Be reducing this cost.
reducing this cost also in the
Yeah.
future. No?
But the rate for this cost is set by the PUC.
Is PAG and then most likely set by the PUC.
Yeah.
I will need
I
to
would
check.
imagine that they set all their rates.
So, and I don't think they have raised that rate in,
No, I
in
don't
so
think-
long. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you point out, as we move forward, we hope to be reducing the volume
Yep.
that goes through. That'll cut us a break.
Yep.
Okay.
So
Any
this
further-
is that, and I ask your approval for this, Mr. Chair. Again,
Okay.
subject
Okay,
the petition,
so-
the PUC.
Move to approve GPA Resolution 2022-25.
Second.
Second? Okay. No further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carries with 3 affirmative votes.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
next.
So I have 2 more resolutions, all related to fuel. FY 2022-25 is authorizing us to award the contract for the supply of diesel fuel oil to number 2 to GPA Water System Distribution and the GWA generators. So as you, the Commissioner knows, that we provide field maintenance and everything for all the 200 some plus generators in the servicing the water wells, the wastewater system, and all of that. The estimated is based on an estimated annual delivery of about 100,000 gallons, no? And again, so the premium is set is about 154 about $1.54 per gallon, 5.49 per gallon for delivery, and this is as needed on the basis. And the reference point, again, the bid is based on a reference point for the fuel, because we're not only buying the delivery service, but we get the fuel from them. No?
Okay.
And again, the sole bidder is Morico, who has been the ones delivering this service for many years, and we ask for your approval again. This is for the next 3 year.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman, GPA Resolution 2022-26.
Second.
Second? Further discussion? None? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries with 3 aye votes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last resolution is FY 2022-26, and this is for the operation and maintenance of the Guam Power Authority fuel bulk oils, fuel oil storage tank facility. We have currently a contract with Isla Petroleum and Energy for several years. However, the contract expires September 30, 2022. GPA did issue a bid, GPA 015-22, and but the bid was canceled in May because all proponents on the bid did not submit the required affidavit documents and all of that. So again, usually when we bid this, we provide enough time for the transitioning of, if there is a new bidder, the transitioning between them, between the new bidder and the old and the existing contractor, to ensure that there's no hiccups in the transfer of this very critical work, no? However, obviously, we won't have time to get this all approved and go out for bid and get another contractor on board and have the transitioning also done at the same time. So therefore, our team worked to negotiate with the contractor, and of course, understanding personal issues, needs, and everything. They wanted a 1-year contract extension to be able to continue with the project so that they can hold their personnel and all of that. We could become more difficult. However, we have to consider that they have been working on the pipeline extension work towards the new PD. They're doing the PD to the PD conversion. They're doing to pipeline to Temis 7 and working those. We have all this transferring of oil from low sulfur to high sulfur to. You really have to know very well what we're doing because. Otherwise, we could be, it's a huge issue, not only making sure we keep the fuel running, but also environmentally could be a problem. So we agree that, especially during this critical period, as we go to ultra low sulfur, and by the end of the year goes us to 0.2%, that we really should keep the team on board to make this happen. So this is where we request your approval for a 1-year extension, and then we will go out with a bid, which would actually should decrease in the next time because we're really going down to 1 fuel at some point.
Okay. Okay, motion?
Move to approve GPA Resolution 2022-26, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Okay. Any further discussion?
Nope.
None? All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries with 3 affirmative votes.
And, okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I can go through my GM report for yourself, or I'd just like to highlight that, yes,
I think
we,
you went
the
through your report.
Ukudu commissioning, like the groundbreaking, I thought went really well.
Yeah.
I'm quite relieved that, we're turning over the work for them to complete it now. The commissioning of the solar 60 megawatt went very well, and now a lot of people really have an understanding of that plan, and how, it's remarkable how they have, it's running the way it is, and it's such a nice facility. And saving the ratepayers $2 million per month, no, based on today's LEAC. And then third, for our ratepayers, the legislature passed Bill 325 this morning, and so something waiting once the governor signs that, and once we've read the bill and make sure that we have a good idea what it's going to do, and we're prepared to make it happen. We're reading the bill, making sure we get that conforming, and so then we will do our best to implement it as soon as possible for their benefit. And that's $100 a month for 5 months, and I believe it says beginning July or August. I don't really know yet, but I will read the amended bill in the morning and see.
Commissioner Sanchez.
And I know we've discussed making sure that we show the credit very clearly to the ratepayers so that they see that they got it. And even questions like if you're a net metering customer with your own solar system, you still have a meter from us, right? And so they would qualify. And I also applaud your thinking that for master meter accounts, like multiple housing units, condos and apartments, where a single meter serves them and then they are billed from their homeowners association or the landlord, that each of those meters also will qualify. And there's a process where the landlord or HOA certifies that this is how many sub-meters they have. I think your whole thinking on how to design it, John, was, I think, well received by the legislature. And were they able to incorporate language that gives John that flexibility, or Graham's going to review it to make sure?
It just say active residential utility power sub-accounts under the master meter. So we'll have to look at that a little bit closer, but yes, it basically covers those.
If you got a meter, you're going to get one.
So,
Does the Navy get their $100?
No, this is commercial and
Residential.
And residential, but large businesses will get their businesses will get
All businesses.
all businesses will get will get their credit, and multiple housed units will. Anybody with a master meter that will also be giving a credit.
And the credit is applied towards their power bill that they have to pay. It's a non-refundable credit. Okay?
What does that mean? Non-refundable.
You have to understand that it's not a credit where they can come in and say, hey, I'd like this credit refunded to me.
Oh no, it's applied to the bill because
It's applied to the bill, so.
every customer at least pays us $15, right?
Yeah, so whatever your bill is, that's what it's applied to.
Yeah.
But it's a non-refundable credit.
Yeah.
so it's active account, and so if you're not active anymore, you don't get the other.
Right, and it's against your recurring costs.
Yeah, it's against your.
Or any cost that
Any cost that
you
you
incur.
So,
But it's going to be great for our ratepayers.
yeah,
A big help.
Work through the kinks, whatever tomorrow,
Sure.
and then we'll wait for the signature, and then I think we talked to the Director of Administration on the funding and having the money, and then we'll get this implemented.
Sure, okay.
And you're correct, we will put the program so-and-so for that month.
Yeah.
And if it's 2 months that we have to follow, then we will put individual line items.
Right.
No?
Yeah.
To make sure it's clear that this credit is coming from this funding.
Public
source.
law,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
Commissioner Sanchez.
And just, I know there was a debate within the body about federal versus local funds, and I'm hopeful that the governor, in signing the bill, will,
Take care of that.
feel comfortable that she has a way to provide us the cash, because
Right.
the cash needs to be paid.
Yes, just federal funds will be used first, then they could use the general fund.
Right. Some of the argument about federal funds first versus local, I know the ratepayers are really anxious to see their relief. They need to see it. I'm hoping they will successfully work that through, that the governor will be comfortable with it. But I know everyone wants to grant the relief. The governor wants to grant the relief, the legislature wants to grant the relief, and I'm hopeful that the legislation is clear enough to make sure that it happens. But it's great news for our ratepayers, and it's something they can appreciate now, because as you just discussed earlier, the importance of the Marble Solar and the new generator can't be lost in our community. It's a huge step towards reducing our use of oil, our reliance on oil. It's a huge step in reducing power bills. And I think one of the things we can talk with your team is about educating our ratepayers on how it will benefit, even projected savings and how soon, to give them confidence in how much has been invested on their behalf. It's as the chairman was alluding to with GWA, this is about $1 billion worth of public-private partnerships, and ratepayers didn't have to front the money. Our private partner is doing that, and the results. If there's that great video that I think you distributed, can we make sure that gets on Facebook and all our social media sites and on our websites, and let's really start to show people, because it's very well done, how these two assets are a huge step in reducing our use of oil, which is going to reduce our power bills. And when they're completed, one is already completed, power bills would be even higher if it wasn't for the solar farm at Marbo already being online. And the new gen for Ukudu is going to be hugely significant in our journey to sustainably reduce power bills and provide a cleaner air environment. So again, congratulations to you, John, and your team. They've worked very, very hard to get this to happen, and KEPCO's come through as a good partner. And we look forward to them completing the new gen, where we can really see more savings for our ratepayers when they really need it. And the credit is going to be good too.
Yeah, and it's a good deal for our ratepayers. It's a good deal for everybody on the island, and it makes us cleaner. The other thing that we have to say
so
is
clean energy.
it's clean energy.
Yeah. And reliable, Mr. Chair.
Reliable.
Cabras, when Cabras burps now, we all get nervous. We know we want to retire Cabras. This is the way to retire Cabras. We just need them to finish.
Telling people we need to retire Cabras.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for COVID, both these projects would have already been done. The solar farm would have been done sooner, and we'd be well on our way with the new gen. And so
The
that's
slide at the end of the tunnel, which is again the Ukudu within about 2 years, though, and that's so the two projects again. Just to sum it up, is about close to 800,000 barrels a year less import. No, and when you take $100 a barrel,
a big
that's
number.
80 million, and $150 a barrel, which is today. That's 120 million less export of money from the community, that we can stay and multiply here. No?
John, maybe one thing your team could work on is I'd love to see if these two projects were online right now at their maximum capacity and efficiency, what would today's power bill look like at today's prices, right? Because I think, ultimately, at least in my journeys around town, that's what they're asking. When can we get relief? How much might it look like? If you're talking as many barrels as you're talking, I know in your presentations to us, there is a decrease coming. And I'm just curious if you could just analyze at the next meeting, no rush, but just to analyze exactly what these two projects mean if they were in place today, how much lower the power bill would be. And then, of course, with the Ukudu facility, we can add more renewables, which will further reduce our use of oil. And when you reduce our use of oil, just like when you drive to the gas station, if you have either a more fuel-efficient car or the price of gas goes down, you save money for your family.
Or you get an electric car.
Yeah. But again, reducing the use of oil, right? And
Cleaner energy.
And an electric car is going to be cheaper by using GPA's power to provide the energy for the car than by buying gas and buying oil. So maybe at the next presentation, I'm just curious, if these two are online now, what would today's power bill look like, with these online versus what they are now? And so people can start to appreciate how meaningful these projects are to
And
them.
I do plan, with the hiccups we had, for example, with the lease property after, and again, we still have to address somehow this protest and how, it's a huge loss to the ratepayers that 2 years later, we lost the contract for NG, no? So I plan to come to the commission in August, September, and readjust everything and proceed further with the phase 4 and maybe even phase 3, depending on the results of our discussion with Navy, no? And come up with a new plan to proceed forward as soon as we can, so we can still make the 2025 time frame, to get bills lower and lower, no? Because I think the PUC already has approved the IRP, which is to proceed towards 50% renewables, which is about 400 megawatts of additional capacity. And after we get your approval to proceed with a new bid, I send it to them for their approval, which I believe should be fairly quick. And we can proceed maybe sometimes towards the end of the year with a new bid for more renewables. No?
Okay.
And again, knowing that the Ukudu, and again, that was the cornerstone, and now that we fiscally have broken ground, we've accomplished our commitment towards the land lease agreement, the U.S. air permit, which was presented to KEPCO during the groundbreaking. The project should move its own hands of KEPCO in the construction now. So now we can proceed with the additional renewables for the system. So I will bring that to the commission August or no later than September.
Does these two projects, when the generator is done, does that take us to the 25% renewable goal?
No, we need to add, I think, one more
solar farm?
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, that would have
Is that the Hanwha plant that?
But we did keep saying 2025, no?
Correct.
So it's 22 now, 23,
We need these projects done.
25. So potentially we can still meet it if we, if we move forward again, no?
Yeah, okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, John.
Thank you. And I think you asked about the LEAD.
Just an update on the projected
Yes.
under recovery.
Pretty much just move to the X side real quick. Can you do a go one slide up? One more. Okay. So for the RFO, the price did kind of drop in June compared to previous month. The last shipment we had was in April, was about $128 per barrel, and it dropped to like 116 barrels when we received it in June. But we stopped the last shipment of RFO was in June. So we are starting moving to more diesel as an index. If you look here, the diesel price has been dropping in July, but until June, it went high as 162 a barrel. And if you look at the following slide, this is the forecast we use Morgan Stanley to do a projection on a fuel for fuel indexing. Compared to when we did last analysis in May, the RFO price has dropped significantly by almost like $100, almost $200, somewhere almost $100 to $200 per month, depending which month. But for the diesel price, when we did this in May, we projected the diesel price would be dropping, and it's very comparable to what we predicted it. So
That's the gas oil, that's what we're calling diesel?
Yes,
Okay.
gas oil 10 ppm.
So you're projecting a decline over the next few months, yeah?
Yes.
Good, decline is good.
It's still,
Still up there.
but it's still not
It's not where we want it.
it's still up there. So hopefully it's a good trend.
So with
but,
those numbers, John,
Yeah.
where do you think we'll end up on January 31st? Do you have a projection?
Yes, we do. If you, on the very last slide.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, there. So if we maintained what we propose in January 31st, we're projecting about $22.8 million.
Okay.
Oh, down from I'm looking at the slide before, we're at
was
40,
40
and now it's going to drop
to
to
20.
very
Yes.
much more
Yeah.
manageable, much
Yes.
I
more
mean,
manageable.
you know, listen, we all realize this is not a quick fix. And over time, we're going to wipe that out. But it's a question of time. Time gives us the ability to help our customers transition. So, hey, 22 is a lot better number than 40-some.
Yes.
And that you can manage with your cash flow.
Yes.
So this brings us the relief from the public law helps our customers through
Sure.
November,
Helps
right?
them.
So
Yep.
But,
we'll look at this again, like the PUC has noted, around the October-November timeframe.
Yeah.
Right, once things really.
We'll see what they want to do.
Yeah. And
But
wow,
for
the
now,
fuel prices.
it's getting better.
Yeah.
Let's hope it stays getting better.
Yeah.
It keeps getting better. Okay, is there anything else?
I'm straight.
No? Okay, Teresa, you have a recommendation that we,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the agenda number 8, it says GWA litigation matters.
oh, I'm sorry, Teresa, just a minute. I forgot one more. Under discussions, we have the resignation of Commissioner Francis Santos. So we recognize that he resigned on July 14th. I circulated his resignation letter. But at the beginning of the meeting, I stated that we would address that vacancy at our next meeting.
And Commissioner Tiako's.
So when Commissioner Tiako's back on island, he's excused from this meeting because he's off island. But, so that'll stay on as a discussion item for the next agenda item, okay? Okay. Now, Teresa, I'm sorry, you're up.
Mr. Chair, do you want to do number 7, announcements?
What's the announcement? No, we don't have to make that. That's just that reminding the commissioners the next series of meetings, the working sessions and the next CCU meeting. That's
Thanks.
just a reminder.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. On the agenda number 8, executive session, it's GWA litigation matter. I've prepared a written affidavit for the board members, and it should be included in the board books recommending that we go into executive session, and that requires a vote of the commissioners.
Okay.
I move to go into executive session, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, we're short recess. We rise up.
Thank you, Mr.
Update.